Now let me tell you something, brothers. Welcome to another episode of the Fins Bandwagon. I'm your host, Evan Posner. With me, as always, is Michael Vogel. It is WrestleMania season, and what a perfect time to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and talk about Tua Mania that's going to run wild over 2023.
All over South Florida, baby.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm good, man. I'm good. WrestleMania
WrestleMania
bandwagon season.
And honestly, I always try. I'm such a supporter of the network, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All the shows on the network. Don't forget to watch them. Have fun. But honestly, every time I watch Real Talk Fins Talk, especially just now, I literally thank God I have the Fins Bandwagon to bring me back to the positive mindset, because I literally need to go have a drink every time I watch it. It makes me wonder, why do I do this to myself? Why do we?
They're so passionate.
They're so passionate about the negativity, and this is not realism. It's literally hedging their bets. It's honestly, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but you can never make these people happy. You can't make these people happy.
Exactly.
Anyways, guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Bandwagon. I can't wait to talk tonight. Obviously, you can tell we're going to talk a little bit about Tua, because I know Michael has been biting at the chomping at the bit to talk about Tua. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Mike McDaniel said yesterday, and then what he said today when being interviewed by Joe Schott of the Palm Beach Post. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we'll just talk about all things Dolphins in a very positive way. So all the negativity, guys, bring it out. We're going to turn it into a positive. Everything negative thought you might have, we're going to flip it on its head. Oh, what's your cat's name?
Gray.
Hi, Gray.
Hey, little Gray kitty.
Are you sure? Why didn't he? Gray should have been on Real Talk Fins Talk, because they were really in a gray mood. Holy crap!
I know, right?
Holy crap!
Every once in a while, he gets crazy.
So, Michael,
look, I've had time to calm down.
Have Friday. You? I'm not calm at all. Honestly, it's enough is enough. Enough is enough.
I agree with you, and there's so much that you can say, but everybody has their own opinions that you're not going to be able to sway them one way or the other. My point that I want to make is that we sit here and we talk about Tua and how bad he is and all this stuff. If we're going to put all that stock on Tua for being terrible, then let's make sure we put that same amount of effort into the defense, who's been just as bad. Awful. When you're a team, so looking back this year, you got your defense giving up 40 points to the Jets. You've got given up 32 points to the Bears. God awful.
The Lions.
The Lions. Packers, I guess, are all right. 32 points to the Bills, not once, but twice. 33 points to the 49ers, which I understand that one. They were a good team.
What?
I don't know what he just said. But then you get but the bigger thing, and then you take last year into example, and the defense is giving up even more points than that. So even like Baltimore, why does your offense have to play from behind? Because we gave up how many points to Baltimore? 35?
38.
38 points to Baltimore. I don't know if my thing is going to hold true. But was it last year, the year before? Not last year, but in 2021. We gave up 53 points to Buffalo. I don't care who your offense is, you're not going to win that. 34 points to the Titans, who aren't, in my opinion, they're not at 34 points better than us. But again, that's legitimate because the offense didn't show up either. But again, we put that on the offense, or you put that on Tua, and you put that on the defense. What about the coaching staff?
Yeah.
That, to me, that's the coaching staff for not getting you. If you knew ahead of time that the weather was going to be cold and rainy in Tennessee that day, then you prepare that way. There were numerous incident. I can't say that word. What's the word I'm looking for? Numerous times where, that word. Numerous times where the Colts knew that they were going to play in really bad weather. And Peyton Manning had the coaching staff come out with freezing cold water and dunking balls in the freezing cold water for Jeff Saturday to have to grip and snap to be able to get feel for that. And it was ice water. His hands are in ice water. getting ready. Those are all coaching things that you can do to get your team ready. Having Tua throw soaking wet balls in ice water to
What's
get
up, John?
ready for those conditions. So we sit here and we put a lot of emphasis on Tua, but to me, especially as a coach, like it's a team effort. And when you go out there and you put up 30, like I don't think an offense should have to put up more than 31 points to win a game. Like you get 31 points, that should be an automatic win. But then the defense gives up 38 points and you got to score some more, but then again, the defense comes through the last game of the year and pretty much shuts down Buffalo, and we win 11-6. Like the offense doesn't show up that day either, but you win, you get in the playoffs, and then we crap the bed when we go up to Buffalo and we can't stop Josh Allen. So to me, it is like I understand the love for Tua, I understand the hate for Tua, but put it in perspective. When you talk about these games, they're the full games. With the special teams, how did special teams perform? Everything has a way of tying itself together, and stop giving Tua all the hate because he's one person.
It's a 53-man roster.
Yep.
And if you look at the history of all these quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls, made it to the Super Bowls, none of them there's so many of them that were not stars of their team. They were not the best players on their team. They were maybe the fifth. They could be the 10th, the 15th, 20th best player on the team.
Yeah.
Even some of these quarterbacks that won a Super Bowl, I can name you a bunch, were maybe the 50th best player on that roster.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, in the end, we have to come to the conclusion is this. They talked about a Real Talk Fins Talk when TD Fins was just on about gambling and all this kind of stuff and development. Okay. We was very clear to the team last year when they hired Mike McDaniel, we were not necessarily going for it yet. But when you started to sign Teron Armstead, then you trade for Tyreek Hill, and then you trade for Bradley Chubb midseason. You knew that this is they were building this window, because at one point, with all the talk of going after all these other quarterbacks and going after a different coach and all that kind of stuff and getting tampered with, the writing was on the wall for Chris Greer and the Miami Dolphins and the such that they need to try and win now, or Ross is going to lose his patience at this point.
Right.
So we have to come to the realization that there's a 5-year plan, even though 2 years was wasted with Tua, that he is a cheap option for them.
Right.
They're not going to go out and get someone anywhere close to his talent at his level when he's healthy in the NFL. And the people around him are good enough to be able to for this team to win. Are you telling me Jalen Ramsey wants to come here? We should like Vic Fangio's here, so we shouldn't go get him. We should develop. I'm tired of hearing about developing football players. If we believe in Mike McDaniel, if people are that's the one thing. People crap on Tua, but they don't crap on Mike McDaniel at the exact same time. If you believe Mike McDaniel is a good coach and believes he deserves a shot with this team, then believe that he knows what he's doing. Because if he really didn't believe in Tua and felt that he was the right fit for his offense, he's the biggest gambler here, because he is basically him and Chris Greer are willing to stake this season on believing in Tua. If you don't, Chris Greer people have issues with, we all have issues for what he's done in a lot of other areas. But if you believe in Mike McDaniel and you believe he's the right person for this job, for this team, then believe in the fact that he's making the right decisions. We all believe that the key thing. We're not being positive. I'm very positive. I'm very positive. How am I not positive? My point is that I truly believe in the coaching staff of this team. I was harder on Mike McDaniel than anybody, but I believe he can adapt to what he was. I was hard on him in the post-game shows in the moment because I'm a passionate Dolphins fan. I continue to cheer for them. I watch every minute of the game. I love it. For me, I believe in this team. I believe they're going in the right direction. Obviously, we want everything. But if you go after everything, you're going to basically be screwed in 2 or 3 years. If you go after a $40 million quarterback and it doesn't work out, because then you're going to have to you're not going to be able to sign Jalen Phillips. You're not going to be able to sign Christian Wilkins. You're not going to be able to sign other star players. So all I'm saying is that I believe that this team is in the right direction, because I believe in Mike McDaniel and the fact that you want to know what? He tells you straight up like it is. Look at him yesterday in that press conference. The most positive person everyone's talking about at the owners' meeting is Mike McDaniel and how much they love him. I have a friend who's the biggest 49ers fan, and he misses Mike McDaniel in San Francisco more than you know. The sincerity, the joy that he has. He joked around, I don't get free coffee with Daniel Snyder. Then he talks about why he signed Tua, because he knows he wants to put it to bed. He believes in his quarterback. He believes in this team. Everyone just has to come to the realization that if you believe in Mike McDaniel, if you believe in Tyreek Hill, if you believe in the star elite players, Jalen Ramsey knows who's on the other side of this ball. He wants to win another Super Bowl. He knows who's playing. He knows Tua is the quarterback. Why would he choose to come here? People are choosing to come here in spite of the fact that you all think, the Twitter universe, the negative Nancy's of the world, that Tua is not capable of doing this. I don't care what anybody says. It's no fluke that Tua had the highest passer rating in the NFL. Tua next year is going to play 16 games, and he's going to be an MVP candidate. Period. Point final. He knows his
exclamation point. Exclamation point.
Mic drop. He is going to be the Hulk Hogan of the next season. Okay, I'm just telling you this right now. He knows what's at stake for him here. If he doesn't get his shit together, he's done. He's done.
Yeah.
He knows this, guys. You need to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and enjoy the fact that Tua Tagovailoa is a phenomenal quarterback when healthy. But the difference is that this year, he's not just going in to the offseason and assuming that he's not going to learn anything.
Right.
He's taking steps. You can make fun of all the steps he's taken, but you want to know what? At least he's taking steps. The same way if someone wants to lose weight or someone wants to get mental health, everyone does things their own way. He's doing this because this is what Nick Hicks and Mike McDaniel and the team believes he should be doing. He has Darryl Bevell in his corner, Mike McDaniel in his corner. He has such positive people around him. Believe in that. Because trust me, if they didn't believe in it, Tyreek Hill will be the first one out there ripping him to shreds.
Right.
So, guys.
So one thing that I heard this week that I found interesting is everybody was making fun of the fact that Tua's learning how to fall again. But the point was made that, when he blew out that hip at Alabama, like that, that does something for you. And that's going to take your whole natural falling skills, differently. So I get that. That makes sense. In my head, that makes sense. Like you're going to favor your hip and try and overcome it some other way, trying to flat back or whatever. And then you end up taking your head out. So that definitely makes sense in my book. But, these are all just talking points to a better day.
And by the way, the whole thing with people talk how he's a one-read anticipatory quarterback, if that's the scheme that Mike McDaniel wants to run, then let him run it. But you don't think that Tua is going to develop as a quarterback with Mike McDaniel in a second year? The guy has all last season to go over with him.
Right.
He's going to come up with a 2,000 play tape for them to go over. It's amazing. Like people want to rip him for December. You want to know what? He was the reason why they were playing so well in Buffalo. He played a phenomenal game in the cold. The game against Green Bay is because when he threw those interceptions, he was concussed. Did he have a bad game in San Francisco? Sure. In against the Chargers, that was a complete fail by the entire staff because they kept on throwing it down the middle of the field, and they also didn't have players. And you know this more than anybody. The one thing they never used the sidelines to their advantage.
Right.
And that's one of the things. They don't have guys who can go get the ball on the sidelines. Hopefully, Easy E. Hopefully, other players will be able to do that this season.
Barrios,
whoever it is. But all I can, and Cedric Wilson, maybe they'll find a way to utilize him if they go get a tight end in the draft. All I have to say is that there's nothing better to be a Dolphins fan. Do we have holes? Sure. But so does every great team, right? Look at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills never have a running game. They run on Josh Allen, and that got them into trouble last year because in the end, he tried to force things with his arm. He had the most interceptions in the league. Joe Burrow, phenomenally quarterback. His offensive line was crap most of the year. They played well, but then they crumbled, but they got somewhere. Even 2 years ago when the Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl, crappy offensive line. Yes, but you can't be perfect everywhere. There's no perfect team. Even the Chiefs, every single team has their flaws. We know there are flaws at right tackle, and we know there might be a flaw at left guard. We might believe that we don't have the necessary thing at nose tackle. We may not have the superstar running back, but no team is perfect. But in the end, it's a team. And if Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio, who we believe are probably one of the strongest combinations of coaching in football, a football genius in terms of scheming, and a defensive guy where a third of the league is using his defense, then be happy about that. Don't take it for granted. Just be proud of that. Be proud of the fact that people want to come to Miami. Right. You know how hard it is to get players to want to come to your team? No one ever wanted to come to this team. And we could talk about the Mike Wallaces and we could talk about the Brandon Marshalls and all this stuff all you want. This is not even close. Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, we went from literally 2 years ago having one Pro Bowler. Now we have like 7 or 8 on our team. You know?
Yeah. And so you talk about, players wanting to come. It's not just players. I mean, this is elite talent that sees what's going on in Miami and they see the possibilities.
I love you, Josh.
And then you get a stud defensive coordinator like Fangio, and then Ramsey's like, well, sign me up. I want part of that. Yeah. I think if you look at the big picture, right? And we always say, if Tua stays healthy, you can say that for a bunch of people. If Burrow stays healthy, he blew out his knee the first year he played. We can say that, Aaron Rodgers, if he ever shows up, if he stays healthy, like his brain's in the darkness retreat and may not show up. So you take that and now you're going to put Tua with the same offense for only the second time in his career, not just professional career, since high school. He's been in a different system every year. So now you're going to take him and put him in, the second year of the system with the second year head coach that believes in him, with the offense that believes in him. And then you got, the defense, most of the defensive players believe in him. And what's his name? The new guy that we signed from Baltimore. Me, that was just that.
Sean Elliott from the Lions.
That's water under the bridge. That's nothing to me.
But the thing is that I'd probably be, by the way, if before Twitter, it wasn't even said. What he did there was kind of stupid, but at the same time, you have to get over it pretty quickly. Yeah. Because he said it in jest. The problem is that the problem with our team is so polarizing.
Right.
But you know what the problem is going to be? Is that I guarantee you, when the Dolphins win, not if, when the Dolphins win big, what are the haters going to say? They're going to say they won in spite of somebody else. Right. It's a team game. Yeah. I coach my kid in hockey. I coach my kid in sports. He's only 7. He's about you and you coach as well. Mm-hmm. Everything is a team. If you try to do it on your own, you're going to fail. Tua knows that too. He never says me ball. He never talks about himself. He always talks about his teammates. They ever look at him in press conferences. He's a team guy. He's a guy I would want to fight for because in the end, you want to know what? He may be trying to play hero ball, but he's doing it for his football team. He's going to take that tackle. He's going to go dive, even though it's not the smartest thing in the world because he wants to win for his team. He's not doing it for his own selfish reasons, right? Because by being stupid, he's only hurting himself.
Right.
So for me, like you've said, like everyone said here, guys, welcome to the show. I really appreciate it. First time we're seeing you. Josh, Bobby, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. When it comes to Tua, I truly believe with the motivation, he has the best support system in Miami. Yeah. And I want to just reflect back. I'm not talking about the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. You know this more than anybody. Watching that Super Bowl, being a gamer and a guy, an analyst, the way that you guys are. We know what won that Super Bowl. It was the scheme. It was the coaching. It was the play calling.
Yeah.
It was the play calling because you were using guys like Tony, who was a talent, who couldn't hold on to a job at the Giants. Isaiah Pacheco was a late round pick. There were no superstars who were making these plays except for Kelsey and Mahomes, but the rest of the players were role players, but they were put in positions to succeed. In the end, this season doesn't necessarily fall on Tua. It falls on the coaching staff putting their players in a position to not give up the 3rd and 17s, not to give up the 3rd and 18s, to run the ball when it's working. Because when Mike McDaniel said it, he admitted it, that he didn't utilize the running game the way he should have in a lot of these games, and it falls on him. So in the end, if he believes, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was a rookie head coach. Did you hear that all? He was a rookie head coach.
He was, yep.
That believe the fact that he knows what the heck he's doing. People, and believe the fact that he is the mentor and the colleague and Vic Fangio. In the end, they're going to go in the draft and they get the best players they possibly can. If they start to do, because you have to remember, right now, people are going to get cut in September and in August after training camps. They're buying their time with an offensive lineman. They're waiting, and they can re-sign an Eric Fisher. There's not a rush. Because also, I wouldn't want them to jump the gun and go over the cap and give up players now. Let them see what the draft happens. They're going to gain $13.5 million post-June 1st just on Byron Jones' contract, and they'll go get a guy if they need to. Let it play out. Let's stop worrying about the first snap is not until September.
Yeah.
Let's just want to read what he said. He wrote here, Tua's injury are different than a soft tissue. Don't you all get it? One more concussion, he's going to miss more than just a couple weeks. Look how many games he missed last time. I just want to get to that point. Yes, but he's not prone to the concussions. It's the fact that if he puts himself in the position to get a concussion, but Steve Young got concussions, he kept going. Eric Lindros kept going. Yes, after a while, you have to protect your head, but in the end, everyone reacts to concussions differently. But he also knows that he has to protect himself. Any player at any given moment can be in a tackle. A running back is diving into a trench. He can get stepped on, fouled on, sat on, have a concussion. There's so many different ways to get concussions in sports.
And again, like I said before, we keep saying, what if, Tua gets another concussion? This is the only season he's ever had a concussion. And if we're going to be loud and screaming this stuff, then let's scream loud for Kenny Pickett, who also had a couple of concussions this year that nobody has talked about. And I think the reason that Tua's gets talked about is because his was so ugly. And
he's also changing his helmet.
Yeah. He's going to have one. I hope he has one of those Wes Welker helmets that are like this.
No, he's going to have the one Pickett did. He's going to have that big, ginormous helmet. He's going to the most protective helmet in the league, right? Because a lot of players.
I agree with Josh. I get that concussions are scary, but there's a lot of go back and watch the Baltimore game before Tua got concussed, and look what happens to Queen. Ends up going head first.
You mean the Buffalo game?
No. He was Baltimore. Baltimore, the defensive player Queen gets knocked out. He gets up, he's all wobbling around
I remember,
and stays in the game. So, I definitely think that the concussions, I get it. I do.
No,
and it is very scary.
We all want the best. But my point is that the point is that stop blaming one person for the demise of a football team. It's a football team.
That's right.
In the end, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to stamp it down. In the end, Stephen Roth is the owner of this team. Right now, he could walk in right now and fire Greer. He could fire McDaniel. He could cut Tua. He could cut every player on this team and lose all this money, have a dead cap, do whatever the frick he wants. If he's willing to give this another shot, and he is the guy who went cuckoo last year, 2 years ago, let it play out. Have fun. It's the Miami Dolphins. This is supposed to be fun. Football's a game. It's supposed to be fun. I've never been more excited about a season because we keep on getting these great players. We have great coaches. We have a great atmosphere. We have a coach who makes you laugh. We have a coach that makes you smile. He has to learn from his mistakes. I think honestly, this team is going to be phenomenal next year because they still have the draft. Guys, don't forget to watch Dolphins Draft Talk and On the Clock on Fridays where we want all the best content about the draft. That's where you go. And also, if you want real information, don't forget to check out Dolphins Thirsty, where Bobby Melendez, Bobby Fins Talk, and Dolphins Thirsty are writing great content. That's where I learn a lot about my stuff. Their guys are phenomenal. My blame goes to Greer. I'm not just a Tua fan, but many people weren't a Romo fan. I'm the biggest. Enjoy your QB. Ultimately, my option doesn't matter. Greer,
I get you, Josh. I get you.
I don't blame Chris Greer because Chris Greer is never going to get out of his own position. But if Stephen Roth had a problem with Chris Greer, he'd fire him. So in the end, he does have some sort of sense there, and he knows his window is now. I'm more proud of the Dolphins. Last year, Bobby and I had this argument. I'd rather have consistency for 10 years and have a chance to win the Super Bowl versus winning the Super Bowl. They're in the mentality of Bobby. They want to win over the next 2 years. Okay? So
I do too.
You know how exciting that is? And also, even when they try to win the next 2 years, you still have a young nucleus of players who are still going to be phenomenal talents, who are going to want to re-sign. They're going to want to restructure. And if they win, they're going to want to try to form it together. It's great. It's phenomenal. I think he is so much different than 89 and telling you trade is coming for Tua. No, he's not getting traded. He's not getting, because in the end, if he's traded, if he's traded, it's only when Mike McDaniel or Chris Greer are gone. That's the only way he's ever gone. I'm just putting it to you that way. Or if he gets hurt, but I honestly believe he's going to learn from his mistakes. He's a smart guy. He doesn't want his career to end here. He loves the game. He's a warrior. He keeps on coming back. People who get injured and keep on coming back, a lot of players might get injured and say, I don't want this anymore, and they retire and they give up. He doesn't give up. I want a guy who keeps on getting back up when he falls. He keeps on getting back up.
Absolutely.
So what were your thoughts? Did you watch a little bit of the press conference with Mike McDaniel yesterday? Like, I want to talk a little bit about Mike McDaniel because I want.
So my issue is I can never hear the questions that are being asked.
I know you have to sort of.
I'm trying to figure out.
Me too. That's awful. They should give him a microphone. I'm telling you.
I know.
You should go watch the funniest thing. There was an NFL Network.
Yeah.
A microphone, and there was a Dolphins microphone, and then one of the guys pulled up, and he looked at him and goes, "Was I boring you?" Like he.
Yeah, I saw that.
People don't realize the joy he gives is the joy that every Miami Dolphins fan should have. You should be fun. That's what he is. It's serious business when you're on game day, but you're supposed to have a good time. If he has CTF, exactly, he's not going anywhere because people aren't going to want to chance on him either. They're not going to. But he, in the end, he wants to win, and he has the foundation to win here. Yep. He's built a life here. Tyreek Hill's built a life here. Bradley Chubb is re-signed here. Jalen Ramsey, like there's such talent here, and Vic Fangio would not sign a 4-year contract. He also knows he doesn't want to be stuck on the field all day and have a poor quarterback. People are coming here because they know the foundation of this team is phenomenal. I know I'm wearing contacts. I want to go on the ice, play hockey. I don't want my eyes to blur. But but honestly,
makes them look smarter.
Oh, does it make me look smarter? Yeah. You know, Bobby just did. Bobby just called me dumb. Wow.
Never would.
No O-line upgrade. Please explain.
Oh,
I want you to go over that. I want to give you the long. I will give you that, and then I want to go talk about the O-line.
I agree.
Then we'll get to McDaniel.
I agree with what you had said earlier. Right? Everybody's freaking out because we haven't made any additions on the offensive line as of yet. There's still a lot of offseason left before we get to that first thing. There's a lot of talent to be had in the draft that could help the right tackle spot, and just waiting things out to see where things play out. I don't feel like, this is me personally as an O-line guy, I don't feel like they're saying, hey, this is our offensive line and this is who we're rocking with. Like I feel that's the core. But I feel like at some point, whether it's the draft or farther down the road, like you said, June 1st, we get some more money off the books.
Yes, he would be. I like Will Collins.
To be able to add some pieces there. So, like, I understand. My thing that I want people to understand is if you go out right now and you're pressing for a left tackle or you're pressing for a right tackle and you're willing to sign them for whatever, you're going to overpay for them. So you just kind of wait to see how things go. When the draft happens, there's going to be more tackles in free agency or they're going to get cut, to have some of these rookies come in. So the statement of be patient, and I know we're not a very patient fan base, but I believe in my heart that they're going to find linemen to pick up somewhere.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting? You know what I find a little hypocritical when people talk about talking out two sides of their mouths? How come we're not developing the corners and drafting them and developing Noah? Why aren't we going to get a running back and developing them, develop a tight end? But then you criticize them for trying to develop O-linemen. Do you understand? We made the joke about Tua having 4 different offenses in 4 years. The offensive line has had 10 different coordinators in 9 years. If you're an O-lineman and since you've been there, Eichenberg and Jackson, you've had a different O-line coach every single solitary year.
That as an offensive guy, that is a thing. You got different O-line coaches showing you different techniques and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. It really is a thing.
Butch Barry, it maybe had issues, but you want to know what? He's an experienced guy. Frank Smith now is going to be more focused on the offensive line again this season. Let it play out. In the end, am I a fan of those 2 players? Absolutely not. Have they shown me something yet? No. Right. But at this point, if they don't work out this year, they're going to be replaced. If they try them for one game, trust me, Austin Jackson got injured. He never saw the field again. Liam Eichenberg got injured. He didn't see the field again. If it doesn't work out, there's a reason why there's OTAs. There's a reason why there's training camp. And trust me, a Butch Barry is not, who's a veteran type of coach, is not going to stand for Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson playing like crap. He's not going to wait. He's going to snap his fingers and say, "Mike, I can't work with these guys. They're finished." Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I agree with Santos. Like I love the fact that we built our offensive line last year and got Armstead. But once we signed him, like Santos said, like we need the right. The left tackle's nothing right now. It's the right tackle that we need.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
but
that's the
but
blind
also,
side.
but also speaking of what you were, the one also problem which is about the Dolphins, which needs to be adjusted, and why I think Butch Barry and Mike McDaniel are going to finally fix it. And maybe Bobby's right about the fact he leave Wilkins, but Connor Williams at center. Is they seem to never figure out. So when Liam Eichenberg was first hired, let's try him a left tackle. Nope, he's a left guard. Oh, Austin Jackson, right guard. No, or left guard. No, right tackle. When they're young players and you can't figure out, none of these players were developing at the right position, and they kept on trying to put them in different positions to succeed. Then they got injured. Who knows what would have happened last season in those moments? Give them a chance to figure it out. They're going to bring in veterans. Eric, honestly, if someone told me next season that Eric Fisher's healthy enough and Eric Fisher's my right tackle, Eric Fisher was a number 1 draft pick. The guy's no schlub. I would be happy with him at right tackle. I would have no problem. So in the end, the offensive line for me, everyone who's watching, I'm not worried about it because in the end, Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer are not dumb enough to go into next season knowing what's at stake for them this season. Like Mike McDaniel said, it's nice to make the playoffs, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to win. They're not going to then say to themselves, we're going to leave 2 weak spots on the line. They're not going to do it.
Right.
They're not going to do it. And you know that, I know that. They're not going to leave. You know they're going to go get a blocking tight end. They're not going to make the same mistake. There's no way they're going to get Dalton Kincaid in the draft. If Dalton Kincaid is sitting there in the draft with Michael Mayer and with Darnell Washington and Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft and Sam Laporta, they're not touching Kincaid because Kincaid is not what they need. They need a blocking tight end who acts like a lineman. They need that extra fit. They need a fullback. If you're going to go get a Hunter Lupke, or you're going to go get everyone, they need to build a wall for the running game and the offensive line. Because the one thing they didn't utilize enough is they didn't use their zone. They didn't use their scheme. They didn't use the Mike McDaniel scheme he used in San Francisco for the running game. But when they did use it, some of the time, it worked.
The other thing that I want to point out about the offensive linemen, like Josh was saying, you've got to figure out when you draft Liam Eichenberg, you need to figure out what one position you want him to play. Right? He's not a Cody Mock. He hasn't played every position. Figure out what one position, if that's going to be left guard, if that's going to be right guard, and you go push him inside, then develop him as a left guard and don't put him anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's the biggest detriment that I've seen watching games last year, the last couple of years is, you can't blame it on Greer if the coaching staff is the one moving him around.
Yeah. But also, people were so high on Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen, how they were good smart ball. They're no dummies either. They're all like in the end, the picks, the signings, the picks, it's not a unilateral. Unlike in hockey or like baseball or basketball, I think football is the one sport of the big four. Okay. Yeah. Where the coaching staff has more decision-making power over the players that they sign than the other places. Because in most sports, in baseball, I find in baseball, in basketball, and in hockey, the sport that who most of the general managers are. I could pick them out quickly. I love football, but when you look across the line of the GM stuff, the GM guys, no one knows who half the GMs are in the league because even though there might be a GM sort of in New England or a VP of everyone knows it's Bill Belichick, right?
Right.
So in the end, your coaching staff truly decides who the roster is. If they want a certain player, like Mike McDaniel said, when Chris Greer said, I have an opportunity to go Jalen Ramsey, if he told him I don't want him on my team, he wouldn't have went to get him. He would not have touched him. Jalen Ramsey's on this football team because Mike McDaniel wanted him. Because Mike McDaniel was happy to have him. Yeah. That's it. That's all. Guys, it's the offense. It was a top. Think about this. Even
top
with
six.
Top six with Teddy, even with your complaint about Tua playing 13 games, with Skylar Thompson, Teddy Bridgewater crapping the bed most of the time, and Tua having the so-called struggles in December, we still were the sixth best offense in the league against. And if you look at the points that they were scoring, like Michael said at the beginning of the show, our defense was giving up 30 points. Every time a team would score, we'd be back down the field in a second. And the only thing I would say, though, I want to talk about the offense a little bit quickly before we get to the defense. And Mike McDaniel, do you realize the number one deficiency of this team, more than anything, was not getting off the field on defense?
Yep. But
the number one thing for me, and Bobby echoes it a lot with me whenever I had the post-game show, and he remembers me saying this, the offense didn't spend enough time on the field. that was the problem with me with the running game. There was no sustained drives. Every time Buffalo would have a 12-play, 9-minute drive, Miami would go back and score in 41 seconds.
Yeah.
Then they'd get the ball back. The Miami never knew how to play hard-nosed football, grinding the clock football. It was too quick offense. They need to learn how to sustain drives in the moments, because what ends up happening is if you look at the end of a lot of halves during the game, they ended up scoring, but then they gave the ball back with 2 minutes left, and they give or 4 or 5 minutes left, and they would kill the clock. Miami gets the ball back with 4 or 5 minutes left. They'd score in a minute, and then give ball back. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah. So one of the big things that I look for in a head coach is how well halftime adjustments are made. And I feel, for the most part, early on in the season, I felt like that's what Mike McDaniel did well. Like, I saw a lot of differences in the second half for the positive. But later on in the year, I felt like I didn't see those as much. So that is something that, they need to be able to continue to do, is make those halftime adjustments that you see, in the second half.
Yeah. But we'll talk about Mike McDaniel at the end, because I want to save him for last. But in terms of the defense, one area that people haven't talked a little bit about, but I want to get your opinion and give you a few minutes to talk about it, and then you can maybe talk about it a little more on Friday. We talk about how we want to maybe still get another linebacker, maybe DT, and we can always get the best player in the draft. The one area I feel like we're also very weak at, because and tell me what you like about him, and then how you think he can develop again this year. And I think where we're missing that right person, especially the fact that I was never a big fan of John Jenkins, but he was serviceable. I think we need a nose tackle. I don't know if Raekwon Davis is the long-term answer at nose tackle. So what do you think? How critical of a position do you think that is on defense? Do you feel that also hurt us last year, that Raekwon Davis had a down year? And is there anyone you truly like, either in free agency that's still out there, or in the draft, that you think could be really another linchpin at that nose tackle position? That was one.
In my opinion, it is a desired position, right? You want somebody inside that can wreak havoc. This is where my mind always draws a blank. The guy for the Rams,
Aaron Donald,
right? You want somebody like that can wreck from the inside. So we got a lot of stuff building up on the outside, and if you can get that one stud in the middle that that can wreck, hopefully having that big 6'5", 300+ pound dude that can just wreak havoc on the inside. And I don't know that I've studied the draft defensive line wise, scouting just nose tackles. I would be interested to see.
Bobby will bring it up.
I might do a little bit of that before Friday.
It was a sign for El Jefe to tell him to get that ready and to do some research before Friday. It's part of our homework between now and Friday.
That's right.
Because it's the one position we haven't looked at, which I think is really critical. Because we have no one beyond Raekwon Davis. There's no one in the depth chart beyond Raekwon Davis. If Raekwon Davis gets injured, we have no one there. We have not one player behind Raekwon Davis.
You got to find a big body that you can plug in there. Yeah, and I'll definitely check that out. Coming.
No, I thought I'd bring that up as an interesting point because no one's talked about it. In terms of the overall defense, do you feel that this defense, as it's built right now, could be a top 10, or are they still? Because I believe they are. Like if they have their 2 shutdown corners, Brandon. For me, the secondary is back to being a top 2 secondary in the league.
Right.
With Nick Needham being back, Cater Cole developing, Trill Williams coming back, and Xavier Howard not having to play the slot anymore. Jalen Ramsey being the leader there, Javon Holland, Brandon. I don't even know what the story of Eric Rowe is. Maybe they'll find a way to bring him back. I'm not sure if he's still on the roster. I can't remember. But overall, that defense, another year, honestly. Siaki is great. Yeah, I love him. He's great. I would bring him. Bobby picked him in his mock draft. He'd be a great pickup for us. But overall, there's nothing to be worried about right now. They ran it back with the offense, which was a top 6 offense, and they'll tweak it a little bit. And they completely revamped their defense. Yeah, like it's phenomenal. Like, and honestly, I was only hard on Mike McDaniel on 2 fronts, because we'll switch over to him, and then I want your overall take on Mike McDaniel and how you feel he's handled the press conference and everything, you've been able to read a little bit. The guy lives and breathes football. He knows what he's doing. He went to Vic Fangio last year because he believed that was the right fit for his team and the winner, and he got him. And there's Vic Fangio is here because he believes that he has the best chance to win. He wouldn't be coming here otherwise. He wants to win a Super Bowl as a coach. The guy's 65 years old. He hasn't won a Super Bowl as a coach. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He could have gone anywhere he wanted, and this is where he came. He could have gone to the Eagles. He thinks the Miami Dolphins give him a better chance to win a Super Bowl. I don't care about the money. He believes the Miami Dolphins give him a better chance to win than the Eagles. I'm sorry. That's what he believes. Or else why would he come here?
Yeah.
So, yes, is he the best since John Shula? Time will tell. He has skills, but he's a rookie head coach. I'm sure Don Shula was a rookie head coach. He had his struggles. Every coach has his struggles. Look at Sirianni when he first started with the Eagles was crap. And everyone remembers that press conference and he took his team to a Super Bowl. Yeah. I'm worried about the depth of the defense. Yeah, you worry about the depth of the defense, but you want to know what? They do have depth there because they do have players. Like Deshaun Elliott maybe had a brain fart, but he's a great depth piece. If they bring back Eric Rowe on the secondary, how are you worried about the depth on the defense when you have Trill Williams, Nick Needham, and Kader Cole backing up the the first top duo of cornerbacks in the league? So for me, the defense is gonna shock people next year.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the offense with Mike McDaniel, he knows that he cost his team at least one or two games last year.
Yeah.
He cost them the playoff game, and he cost them the Chargers game. If he would have figured out a way to adjust in those games, he is a different head coach, and we're probably going to have a different conversation.
And
so
you were talking about the defense. Is it a better defense? Wholeheartedly, I definitely think it is. I think it has a lot of potential to be a top 10 defense. Right. And you were just talking about Mike McDaniel costing you 2 games last year. I would agree with that. But I also feel like bringing in Fangio wins us 2 games.
Yeah.
That normally we wouldn't have won because I believe that much in his defense. I've done a lot of scouting it, watching film and stuff on it. And it is, one of those defenses that when all the pieces are there together, can be a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help win us a couple
games. And in the end, defenses win championships because if you look at the last couple of Super Bowl winners, we take out Mahomes and all that, but in the end, the defense won it for the Rams. The defense won it for the Bucks. The defense won it back when the Broncos won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Seahawks won with the 13-man defense. In the end, your defense it's going to win you those really important football games, not your offense.
Right.
So, and they're going to make that last final play that you need to win. This team is built for success. Mike McDaniel knows, and also, you want to know what? People could talk about how they've changed coaches. The one thing he does for me is he makes me want to be a Miami Dolphins fan even more than I was before because he makes you laugh. He doesn't take it seriously. But then when he's on the sidelines, he's so focused and laser focused on winning. He wants to win, but he made mistakes because like I said, he didn't have the support system last season, and he really went on his own because he didn't have who do you have to go talk to? He has Vic Fangio now. He's developed. He brought in coaches that Vic Fangio wanted. There's more experience there. He's a year older. He's in develop, but he gives the passion. I used to watch Brian Flores' press conference. I used to fall asleep. It was my cure for insomnia.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel, you want to hear what he has to say. Everyone surrounds him. Everyone makes him laugh. It's not a joke. It's not a facade. People should be as happy because if the head coach of this football team is happy with his football team and he has the backup of it, and I don't care what anybody says, no one on this football team, not in your lifetime, maybe in Steve's lifetime, but not in Thirsty's lifetime, not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime, not in Bobby's lifetime, have we been able to say, I said this before last season, before we even signed Tyreek Hill, I am waiting for us to have an elite football player on this football team. We have 6 to 8 elite football players at their positions in the league, and somebody, if he stays healthy, will be an elite quarterback by the end of this year. Because in order for these players to be successful, he has to against the team because they have one of the toughest schedules in the league next year.
Right.
He has to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. If he's not a superstar, they're not going to win next year. But I believe he is going to be a superstar because no one wants to win more than he does. He would not be coming back. The guy has more than enough money and a young child and everything like that. Mike McDaniel is so motivated for this guy to win. It's like having your coach. It's like that guy who's going to take you on the field. He knows that someone on that sideline isn't going to pull him out. He doesn't have to worry that he's going to get yanked in a football game.
Right.
He doesn't have to worry. When you have that sense of confidence and that, like my kid, if he's playing a sport or if they're passionate about something, your reaction, the way you encourage them, completely changes how they react. It can change how the way they play just by a few words, a look, anything. I've been around for all the Marino years and Killer Bees. So I have 2 Super Bowls, but losses. Yeah, that's true. Last Tua promised. In your opinion, how many wins with Lamar? How many wins with Tua? Seriously. Okay.
Well, we don't need to talk about it because it ain't happening.
No, but let me talk about Lamar. If you have Lamar Jackson on your football team right now and you trade for him, you're giving up your first for the next 2 years. And you have to sign him to a guaranteed contract at $47 million a year, and you can play around with it. You will not have more than 1 season left with Tyreek. You're not going to hold on to Christian Wilkins. You're not going to hold on to Howard. You're not going to be able to sign Holland. You're not going to be able to sign Phillip. He is going to eat up that payroll. Do you know how bad the Giants are going to be next year with Daniel Jones at $45 million? Tua Tagovailoa next 2 years from now, if he wasn't playing, you could still go sign a quarterback for another $20 million. You could still go sign another quarterback for $20 million a season, and you still have room under the cap. Honestly, it is we could not be in a better position to succeed. This is the best time to be a Dolphins fan. For 51 minutes, you and I have been talking about Miami Dolphins. You know how lucky we are to be on this network and to be talking about the Miami Dolphins. We could be talking about so many other awful teams. We're talking about a team with superstars. It's such a fun time to be a Dolphins fan. There's nothing more exciting than this. We need to love this. We need to enjoy it.
Love the process.
It's the process.
Love the process.
It is honestly. No one wants to be part of this. Who wants to be part of a loser? You think Dan Marino's just sitting there wanting people know this. Also, you want to know what? In Stephen Ross's ear is Dan Marino. Dan Marino was in that quarterback room. He still believes in Tua because, trust me, people will go to him and say, what does he think? Darrell Bevel could have gotten an OC job. The OC job in Washington was his. He didn't want it. He thinks he has a better chance to succeed here.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, I believe right now with this football team, they're going to win 12 to 13 games next year, whether it's Lamar or Tua, because in this, the defense is going to be so key to a lot of the wins next year, but because they're playing tight games against very good football teams next year. But it's all because Mike McDaniel's scheme and Mike McDaniel's build. All the quarterbacks he's ever had he's never had a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. He would completely have to flip the script of the way he schemes.
Right.
To do something for this. And Lamar Jackson, by the way, people could talk. Name me the superstar elite wide receiver he's ever played with. He hasn't. He's not that ego of Lamar Jackson with the contract, thinking he's entitled to $230 million when he's been injured. And he's won an MVP, but he's not been successful in the playoffs. So do you want a $40 million guy? Yes. Is he more talented and as an athlete than Tua? Sure. But what has he done more than any other quarterback? Same thing with Josh Allen. A quarterback is a function of your football team. The best way. He delivers the football, but he's not the only player.
Distributor.
Distributor of the football. Tom Brady, when he won those first Super Bowls, I'm just talking about in general, Tom Brady, he wasn't the reason why they won that Super Bowl. He was not a great quarterback for the first couple of years. Josh Allen, first couple of years. Tua's in his 4th year. If he did not get injured last year, this team has a completely different record.
Right.
A completely different record. The momentum. He said he was not in his right mind after he had his first concussion. We all know this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who our quarterback is. We have our quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa is the quarterback Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer and Stephen Ross are comfortable with going to the 2023 season. They're not giving him his 5th-year option without the blessing of Stephen Ross. So if Stephen Ross believes this is the right quarterback for them, he's the right quarterback for them in this moment.
Yeah.
Don't believe the chess match being played by the franchise. We've seen this before. There's all leverage they needed. They packed up Jeremy Tunsil 5th-year option, and look what happened. Well, if it goes Dolphins, we'll have to pay Tua big bucks eventually. Yes. But you want to know what? When they go 2 years to the Dolphins, if they have a Super Bowl in their pocket, they'll be happy to pay him. In the end, this team is going in the right direction. This team is in the right frame of mind to be successful. And guys, it's only the month of March. We have a lot of exciting things going on, guys. We're almost up to the hour. It's almost Bobby's dinner time. It's great to be with you guys. We only want to bring you back the positive of what's going on with the Miami Dolphins. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's been a phenomenal time. Before I give the last word to Michael, we have some great stuff going on. Tomorrow night we have Fast Break with Alex Chiska, and then with Clutch and everyone else who sometimes joins him. I don't know also who the part-time kids are. Then we have a massive WrestleMania show where I'm going to be on with Alex Brown and Alfred and Justin, and anyone else who wants to join the show, right. Kimmel, everyone. We're going to have a great time Thursday. You never know what's happening on Thursdays, but don't forget to watch on Friday with Dolphins Draft Talk and On the Clock with myself, Michael Vogel, Bobby Melendez, and whoever else might want to join that show. There's always some surprises. And don't forget to watch Fins Talk today, where you're also going to hear the positive of Fish Tank Hank and the realism of Bobby Fins Talk. And then you have Once Upon a Sunday with Josh Kimmel and all of his friends. And then Monday, you have the Beer and Sports Podcast. And then you have East Entry Boys. Last night, I had so much fun with East Entry Boys. I appreciate those two beautiful boys from Hialeah from having me on their show. It's never been a great time to be a Miami Dolphins fan. So don't forget to like and subscribe and to be part of this network. Man. Any final words?
Boys, it's going to happen. Believe it. Exclamation point. 2023.
I can't wait to enjoy this. Guys, have fun. Don't forget to always fins up. And whenever you see a Jets, a Bills, or a Patriots fan, go fishing. Have a nice night, everyone.
Get on the bandwagon, baby.
We got another bandwagon.